Pipe Network presents.
Welcome to your unfiltered Tagalog Wrestling Podcast. This is the LTG Show Podcast.
I like to have a good time when I listen to my horror podcast.
Her left arm
Oh,
was
that's
chopped
so.
off.
Oh my god, really?
Caused a panic all over the
Prolonged
country.
their deaths for like months and
The
months.
frightening, alarming, real-life tales show is my horror podcast. My horror podcast. That's
Give
it?
Pause it.
This is your scary part?
Be scared and laugh hard with the frightening, alarming, real-life tales show. Every Friday on all major podcasting platforms. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Okay, welcome to your unfiltered Tagalog Wrestling Podcast. It's Friday and you know what that means. And this is the MTG Show Podcast, Wrestling Podcast. Oh, wow. Okay, welcome to the show. And it's gonna be a big episode. Okay, first thing we're going to talk about Full Gear and then Survivor Series that will take place Sunday Manila time. Monday rather. Kasi nasanay na ako kasi 2022 some pay-per-views will take place on Sunday. Kaya nasanay na rin ako. So that's Sunday in the US, Monday Manila time. And then also, let me add na we're going to discuss our Full Gear review on this week's podcast. And wow, we're going to do another episode. Wow. Ito na naman tayo eh. Okay, ito, agahan ko labas nito sa Attention to Detail na podcast. Kasi, ito pag nilabas ko to ng late, mawawalan na siya ng saysay. So, ngayon, we're going to do another part of the Becky Charlotte thing. Siguro, kailangan ko lang talaga i-follow up yung part na yan. Not because napipilitan ako, kundi we need to do it. We need to do a follow-up kasi dami natin development. Ewan ko, it's either na-work na tayo. There's a lot of things na sa tingin ko we need to look forward. Excuse me. Marami tayong bagay na we need to look forward. Kumbaga, we need to look forward on this Monday Survivor Series, this Sunday Survivor Series. But before we start this week's podcast, long episode podcast, okay. Before we start, gusto ko muna sabihin na Lazada, malapit na nga pala in few weeks time, we're going to have another sale, big major sale sa Lazada. Of course, we have our affiliate link. Wait lang. Ano ba ang tamang term? So, affiliate link. So, that's podlink.co/6gs. Again, that's podlink.co/6gs. Okay, yung pag-check out dyan, wala kayong babayaran kahit ano, and yung mga percentage ng inyong pinamili syempre, mapupunta yan, pondo yan, parang that's a money to me, actually. And pang-upgrade din yan. Not kidding, I'm not kidding at all. Pero malaking bagay yan sa akin for the upgrades here, the pod. Siguro, a year, siguro next year magkakapag-upgrade na ako kahit paano, ano. And ayun, by using my link, nakakatulong ka sa akin here in the podcast. So, also, before we start episode as well. Gusto ko rin pala sabihin sa inyo na available pa din yung mga episodes ng 8 questions powered by Pipe Network, yung aking network. So, marami na po kaming episodes doon. Apparently 4 na yung na-drop na episodes ng 8 questions. And malapit na rin pala ang aming anniversary. So, Pipe, happy anniversary. First anniversary nga pala sa Pipe Network. So, let's get down to it. Bago tayo mag-upisa sa ating Full Gear review, kasi review muna yung unahin natin. We're going to do a announcement muna. Kasi, for the very first time here in the Philippines, magkakaroon na tayo ng Filipino commentary, not Tagalog commentary. We're going to call it Filipino commentary. So, it features Carlo Pamintuan of One Sports/TV5 and Wrestling Podcast, and one of the guests here in the podcast, si Stancy of the Wrestling Podcast. So, kung naririnig niyo si Stan sa PWR before, apparently, siya yung maririnig nyo on Survivor Series sa Tagalog or Filipino commentary for the pay-per-views. Si Carlo Pamintuan, naririnig ko na rin siya sa mga basketball games, especially PBA and some programming. And nakapag-interview na rin siya ng iba't ibang wrestlers sa WWE since One Sports owns WWE programming, some of its programming here in the Philippines. So, to watch, kung gusto nyo panoorin o gusto nyo pakinggan yung Tagalog commentary or Filipino commentary of Survivor Series and some main roster pay-per-views moving forward, syempre mag-subscribe kayo sa WWE Network. And syempre, kahit hindi nila to podcast, gusto ko i-plug din pala yung Patreon ng Wrestling Podcast because that's another way to catch the Tagalog Filipino commentary. And yan, patreon.com/wrestling podcast. Kahit hindi ko podcast yon, pa-plug ko pa din just to remind you guys na pwede nyo din doon mapanood yung Filipino commentary for this year's Survivor Series and all of the pay-per-views moving forward. Okay. That's our news number 1 for this week's pod. Let's go to Full Gear. Of course, we're going to do a full review kasi yun naman talaga dapat. Apparently, this is second to the last full review of the year. Siyempre, hindi naman totally of the year kasi we're going to do War Games pa habang ongoing yung ating The Bash Awards event na mangyayari anytime soon. We're going to do some announcements on it sa weekend. Probably weekend. And marami din akong pinapasukan na kalokohan sa iba't ibang podcast. Abangan nyo na lang in the next few days. Okay, review na tayo Full Gear. Let's start with MJF versus Darby Allin in a match for pillars of AEW. Okay, wala akong script na hawak. Linawin ko sa inyo. Lahat to napanood ko to sa Fight TV. Shoutouts din pala sa mga nanood sa PHC. So kung taga PHC ka, swerte mo napanood mo yung event via Fight TV. And sobrang worth it. Okay, let's start with the top match hanggang main event. Okay, so let's start with MJF versus Darby Allin match. Ayun, so ito, alam mo itong match na to, personal opinion ko, naging super sleeper match ko to, pero sobrang solid. I think MJF winning the match makes sense to me, lalo't binibuild siya sa mga stories, especially mamaya natin na-explain. Alam na yung story kay CM Punk, that touch earlier on Dynamite, so fucking good. And then, yung pagkapanalo na MJF, in my opinion, that's a good decision. I think that's a good decision in their behalf. Hindi naman kawalan kay Darby if matatalo siya in my point of view. And yung pag-build pati kay MJF is a plus kasi parang sinusubukan pa din talaga nila yung effect ni MJF if kakayanin pa din nila yun sa kanilang side. So that's a plus for me. MJF winning the match is a must to me. And then we got the AEW Tag Team titles between Lucha Bros and FTR. Ayun, so apparently this match is one of my favorite matches so far of the card, but my problem on this one is it's may kulang. Feeling ko may kulang dito, siguro quick napilit na sila na i-end to ng maaga or baka dahil sa injury siguro o mina-knockout kasi if I remember. And siguro napilit na sila na i-stuff, ipaaga yung tapos ng match. So it's kind of bitten for me. And dadag ko na din siguro kaya hindi pa drop ng Lucha Bros yung Tyros is probably magkakaroon pa ng isa pang match sa AAA sa Triple Mania de Regala sa December. So that's a good match. Kaya lang nabibitin ako a little bit. And yung way to end the match kind of makes sense to me. So that's a good touch na din for me. And then we got ano pa ba? So we got Miro versus Bryan Danielson match. Ito yung isa sa mga match na nilook forward ko on this whole card. But it's kind of disappoint me the most kasi parang alam na nga natin na extender lang si Miro dito. But hindi natin nakita na extender siya dito. Instead, I love Miro here. But obviously in this match, kinain to niya ng DVD, Bryan Danielson. I think the match will be different if si John Moxley yung andito, but still John is not here. So it's kinda disappointing. But we need to deal with this. And I think, in my point of view, na-deliver naman nila yung pamalit. So Bryan Danielson Miro match, that's a good stuff. Kaya lang, the ending, it's kinda quick eh. Hindi siya masyadong na-end properly. Hindi siya yung usual na AEW title match or AEW stuff that I look forward the most. But, hindi ako nag-expect. Okay, next is the Falls Count Anywhere match between the Super Click and Jurassic Express and Christian Cage. Okay, in my point of view, this fucking match is pretty damn good. One of my favorite matches of the night. And definitely, if I want to watch this match, ulitin ko to. Definitely. If I want to watch this pay-per-view, I'm going to watch this fucking match over and over and over and over again. But for me, that's a match that we need to look forward. If papanoorin mo pa lang ngayon ng Full Gear, I think this match should be on that list, in my opinion. I think the touch na si Jungle Boy yung tumapos, that's a perfect touch, in my opinion. Sobrang ganda nun. Then the rest, panoorin mo na lang. Ayoko itang i-spoil. But I love the match overall. Ewan ko na lang kung hindi nyo pa magustuhan. I think this match can beat 3 matches na nauna. Ano? I'm okay with that. No problems at all. And then we got Cody Rhodes and Pac versus Andrade, El Idolo, and Malakai Black. I think this match is one of the easiest way to get the fuck out habang wala pa namang iba pang matches. Para sa akin, isa to sa mga matches na di naman kailangan i-look forward naman. Kasi parang peace break na lang to. Aside sa pagiging peace break, it's a Cody match. Ano pa may expect mo? Peace break. I'm not kidding at all. Cody matches on pay-per-view is kinda peace break. Tingnan mo. Ogogo match, peace break. Cody, sa All Out. Di ko nakita si Cody ng All Out. So that's a good stuff. If hindi nga. Ewan ko, nalimutan ko na yung nangyari sa All Out eh. But I think wala si Cody nun. I think wala si Cody. And then, ano pa ba? Yung, ngayon, another peace break. Sa tingin ko, mas maganda siguro kung nag-triple threat na lang sila Pac, Malakay at saka si Andrade. Baka makonsider ko pa na na mas solid sleeper to kaysa dun sa MJF Derby. But wala nabago yung ihip ng hangin nung pumasok si Cody sa eksena, ang puta. Oh, seriously. Nung, alam mo, nag-inom ako nun habang nanonood ng pay-per-view. Sabi ko, magbo-bottoms up ako pag si Cody yung nagdala ng pin. Eh, natawa ako, hindi si Cody yung nagdala ng pin. But it's fine. It's fine, seriously. I love Cody. But dude, don't overbook your fucking self. Hindi mo kailangan na every pay-per-view nasa card ka. Like, what the fuck? What's wrong with you, huh? Hindi mo kailangan mag-overshadow sa iba't ibang matches or iba't ibang feud just to put yourself over. But okay. Nangyari na yung nangyari. So, we need to move on. So, AEW Women's Title. It's Britt Baker, DMD versus Ty Conti. Ito, sabihin ko sa inyo, ito yung isa sa mga matches na in-easy predict ko last week. Nagkatito yung easy predict. Sobrang flat naman nangyari. In my opinion, ito sa akin lang to. Call me an idiot, whatever you want, whenever you want. But definitely this is the worst match of the night. Aside from Jericho mamaya. Okay. So this match I think is the match or one of the matches that you can skip on this all Full Gear card. Parang ang dating kasi sa akin, since she won the championship, sabihin ko sa inyo. Heel yan, normal lang sa heel na manalo with shenanigans. Normal lang yun. Fuck you. Normal siya. But habang tumatagal tong reign ni Britt, pa-flat yung outcomes. And I fucking hate it. Hindi niya ako masisisi if ayaw ko talaga kay Britt and and yung mga matches niya most of the time. But wala eh. Britt is still over with the crowd. And yun lang ang dahilan kung ba't siya nagtatagal. Or ba't nagtatagal tong title reign niya. But in reality, sobrang flat na itong reign na to ni Britt. And I wish na habang tumatagal, drop na rin tong title sa isang mas credible na champion. Props din naman kay Ty Conti. Ty Conti did a great job trying to beat Britt Baker. And it's a good match. Hindi rin naman natin makikita na ito-drop yung title very soon. But still, that's a good match. But that motherfucking ending ruined everything. Okay. Next, CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston. I think I can say this is one of the easiest matches na I can watch on this pay-per-view. One of the easiest watch that I did this year. No exaggerated feuds, no crappy feuds, no exaggerated motherfucking feud. Inulat ko na naman. No extenders. Just pairing the living hell out of each other. This match, I can prop this match of the night all I want. But the problem here is, sinabi ko na naman, may problema na naman. Eddie should win. Like what I said on my predictions. Sinabi ko to last week. Si Eddie dapat ang nanalo dito. And hindi nagbago yung opinion ko dito. Eddie should win this motherfucking match. Wala eh. Si Eddie lang naman nagdala ng tong feud na to eh. And hindi rin natin masisisi if Eddie wants to fuck up CM Punk instead of beating him. And CM Punk is, ang gusto na naman niya, talunin niya si Eddie Kingston. It's kind of good stuff for both of them. But still, iba-iba yung mindset nila for this match. Kaya hindi niyo masisisi if i-dislike ko tong match na to. But still, I like it. Kasi hindi naman siya sobrang haba. Hindi rin sobrang ikli. Parang sobrang sitting pretty lang. I'm going to watch this match punching each other. It's a great match. Okay, we got the street fight, Inner Circle versus American Top Team and Man of the Year. Wait, reviewin ko pa ba to? Reviewin ko pa ba to? Tangina pa rin, re-reviewin ko pa ba to? Seryoso ba ako? Tangina, re-reviewin ko pa ba to? Guys, seryoso, re-reviewin ko pa ba to? Man, this motherfucking match is one of the worst matches of the night. And hindi ko niregret na sinabi ko to on this podcast episode. Okay, I'm fine with Inner Circle winning the match. But, it's kinda odd and nonsense, in my opinion. This match is very, alam mo yun, very slow P. But gusto kong mag-props dun sa dalawang MMA guys. Sa dalawang MMA guys sa American Top Team. Kina Junior Dos Santos. So fucking good wrestlers. Akalain mo yun, yung dalawang yun. Ano what sabi ko talaga? Oh, they're both wrestlers. I know. But they're trained to be an MMA fighter, not to be a wrestler. That's a plus. But based on their fucking performance, parang hindi sila na train for MMA lang. And I love it. I love it. Sobrang gustuhan ko yan. Plus, let's add, yun lang. And then, typical Jericho, Sammy Guevara thing. I love kung paanong nagbabond yung stable. But, in my opinion, sobrang unnecessary nitong match na to sa pay-per-view. Parang gusto lang talaga nila isiksik kasi para magawa nilang 4 hours yung duration ng pay-per-view. So, it's kinda suck. Okay. The next is the AEW World Championship. Pero bago yun, may important happening din pala na nangyari. Which is si Jay Lethal from ROH, Ring of Honor. Nag-jump shift na to AEW. So, wow, what an additional stuff for AEW. So, syempre, recap ko na din kung ano yung nangyari nung Dynamite kanina. So, challenge ni Jay Lethal si Sammy Guevara after of the street fight in a TNT Championship match. And in my opinion, that's a great match. But, wala naman ako nakitang big deal masyado sa Dynamite besides Adam Page promo celebration since hometown na yun and Bryan Danielson. Sudden heel turn. That sudden heel turn is a good heel turn. And I fucking love it in my opinion. Sobrang ganda ng sudden heel turn na yung TV. I don't know if that's a silent heel turn. I'm not sure. Hindi ko sure if that's a silent heel turn o dahil lang nasa hometown ni Hangman and they need a protagonist on this feud and they got Bryan Danielson on the face. Okay. So it's fine for me. And the main event already is Kenny Omega versus Hangman Adam Page for the AEW World Championship. The long-term storytelling of this motherfucking feud is so fucking good. Wala akong masabi. Doon pa lang, I can give 5/5 na eh. Based sa, scoring scale ko, I can give it 5/5 already. Because the storytelling is so fucking good. Na nanggaling ka sa taas, rising star, and then nabigo ka, and parang tinatry na umangat ulit, and now you're champion. That's so fucking good stuff. And then the match itself, so good. Wala namang kulang. Wala akong kulang na nakita. Siguro, they need to capitalize everything lang since Kenny is injured. And they need to drop the title as soon as possible. And they wanted to do this stuff in their biggest event. One of the biggest events. So that's Full Gear. And Hangman is the perfect guy to drop the title. So it makes sense. And the moment before the bell, before the bell rings once again after of the match, in my opinion, yung pag-call na yun nila ng Young Bucks, is kinda sobrang bigat ng touch na yun for this fucking match. And I love it. Sobrang nagustuhan ko yung touch na yun for the match na to. And yun. That's pretty much it for my Full Gear review. So, kung nagustuhan niyo yung review ko, it's fine. Kung hindi ko pinipilit. Okay, so, pwede na rin ako mag-rate dito. Magre-rate na rin ako dito kasi when we come back after of the commercial breaks, pag-uusapan natin ang WWE. We're not going to drop AEW stuff anymore after that commercial break. Siguro, we're going to check some happenings na lang on this week's Dynamite. So, this week's Dynamite, syempre, is also the debut of Tomohiro Ishii and the TBS title tournament na nangyari na din nag-umpisa na din nung nakaraan pa and will culminate on the very first episode on TBS. So, basically yun lang. Itong Kid DB naman at saka kay Evil Uno, that's a very fucking good match. In my opinion. Sobrang ganda nun. And in my fucking opinion, Nyla Rose winning the tournament is not possible. But yung kay Shida, pag-eliminate kay Shida, that's the right call to me to gain heat. And puro faces kasi nasa tournament so far. So, Nyla Rose being the heel on this one is kinda good call for me. And then, dagdag din natin, I love the team of Dante Martin and kay Leo Rush and yung kay CM Punk and kay MJF. Yan lang. Okay lang. Yan din na lang yung sa akin for this week's Raw. This week's AEW. So, okay na yan. We're going to rate the matches for Full Gear. And i-add ko na din yung Sammy Guevara versus Jay Lethal. Okay. So, let's start. So, MJF versus Darby is 4/5. AEW Tag Titles, 3/5. MJF. Miro versus Bryan Danielson, 3/5. And then the false count is 5. The Cody tag match is 3.5/5. AEW Women's 2. Punk versus Kingston 4. Street Fight it's 3. And the main event alone is 5. But the match itself is 4. Okay. Yun lang. Basically, yun lang ang ating matches and ratings. And siguro, we're going to do a commercial break kasi sobrang haba, ang dami ko nang sinabi. And when we come back, we're going to talk about basically what happened on WWE programming and Ayan, may predictions for Survivor Series. Ayan, and for now, let's check our other podcast here on Pipe Network.
Gusto niya bang malaman kung paano kami nakikipag-collab sa mga brands in the MT Show podcast? We use Podmetrics, the easiest way to monetize your podcast. If meron kang podcast, sign up now at podmetrics.co and use my code DMTGShowPod to get full control on how you monetize your show regarding of its size. Again, sign up now at podmetrics.co and use my code DMTGShowPod. If you're an advertiser who wants to collab with us, head on over to advertiser.podmetrics.co and fill up the form. Again, Podmetrics, the easiest way to monetize your podcast.
Dear listener, have you ever had a complicated situation with someone you love? I'm not a relationship expert, but I sure have gone through a handful of ups and downs with my own relationships. So I invite you to join in the conversation in my podcast, Sincerely Yours, where we'll talk about the discreet things we do in relationships that harm us. Some may be hard to admit to ourselves, but that's the road to building healthy relationships. I hope to see you there. Sincerely yours, Maria.
Okay, so we're back. We're back on the podcast. So then, we're going to do the smaller shows review. Okay. We got first thing, the SmackDown. Let's start with the SmackDown recap. So we're going to start from the bottom. So the bottom here is King Woods defeated Roman Reigns. King Woods, I think, is the first guy in a while who defeated Roman Reigns for whatever. I think this is a non-title, but DQ and but win is a win. That's a good stuff for King Woods, in my opinion. But alam mo yung problema? Yung pagbibuild nila ng Survivor Series, it's kinda watak-watak. And I think ito yung isang number one problem on this year's Survivor Series. The number one problem on this year's Survivor Series is this. Kung paano nila build tong pay-per-view na to. And I'm so fucking disappointed. In my opinion, I love the match. Okay. So, let's say Woods won. Okay. Ito, may sense naman yung end. Let's say may sense yung ending itong match na to. But, sa tingin ko yung pag-involve ng Usos is always a right point. Baka sabihin nyo, hipokrito ako eh. Sinabi ko kasi kanina sa AEW, sa women's, na wala namang reason para mag-involve sila Rebo, tsaka si sino ba yun? Si Rebel, tsaka si Jamie Hater for the women's. Wala kasing point para mag-end sa shitty ending yung sa women's. Ito meron. Ito may sense eh. And then ito, sobrang may sense kasi ng pag-involve ng the Usos sa mga matches ni Roman. And I fucking love it. And if insultuin nyo ako about being hypocrite pag pinagkumpara ko tong dalawa, hindi na ako magugulat. Okay. After that, gusto ko lang i-address to. Sobrang obsessed ako na i-address to. WWE. Ang tatangan nyo no? Seryoso, ang tatangan nyo no? Sabi ko naman last week sa episode na ba't nyo in-announce yung mga matches and yung mga participants for this year's Survivor Series? Although, paparatan nyo din naman last minute or paparatan nyo din during the show. And it doesn't make sense. Big for pay-per-view ba naman kayo? Tapos ganito? Like, what the fuck? Kala mo walang nangyaring malaking show no? Tapos ganito. Sobrang letdown. Ah, shit. Sobrang nakakadismaya. Oh, ito. We're going, these fans are going to excuse. Okay, may Saudi naman. Okay, fuck you. Yung idadahilan yung Saudi dito. Saudi is a different word to WWE. But on how they build the feuds per Survivor Series is just disappointing. Kaya, tama talaga yung ATD episode ko na nakaraan. Na dapat after na lang ng Survivor Series ginagawa yung draft. Or dapat di mo na sila nag-draft after ng Crown Jewel or before ng Crown Jewel. Dapat ginawa na lang nila after. Siguro, I can consider after. But before is fuck you. Back to the concept. Kasi ayoko na magmura. Okay? So, Sami Zayn versus Jeff Hardy. Si Sami Zayn ay originally nasa 5-on-5 match. And just like that, they changed the participant, which is Jeff Hardy. And I fucking hate the idea of posting or releasing the participants real quick. And then they're going to change it during the show, during the build-up of this fucking pay-per-view. And I hate it. Okay, I'm done. And then, so we got Charlotte is not that big deal to me this week. But I'm going to give her a props kasi sobrang ganda ng promo niya with the mentioning of Tony Storm and yung kanyang promo sa BT Sport. That's a good fucking stuff. And then we got wala naman masyadong big deal. So also nag-announce din si Adam Pearce. Ayan na nga sinabi ko na nga kanina yung kay Jeff Hardy. It's kinda disgusting and confusing at the same time. So si Adam Pearce dapat ito equal siya dito dapat. But it's kinda he is a one-sided dick guy na parang binasta-basta niya na lang yung booking for the shows. And you fucking hate it. And then, so, ayun na nga. Finally, from SmackDown, so we got a 6-woman tag match. It's kind of disappointing na inalis nila si Aliyah agad doon sa 5-on-5 women's side. I fucking hate the idea of dropping her from the match. Sobrang ganda sana ng opportunity. Pero I guess room to para ipasok si Naomi from 5-on-5 or pwedeng ganun na mangyari pag magiging room to for Naomi para mag-part ng 5-on-5 and then she will screwed by Shayna anytime or I guess Sonya Deville kasi binibid pa din nila yung feud. But okay, fuck. Ang masabi ko lang, fuck them sa part na dinarap nila si Aliyah, fuck them kasi it's kind of disappointing na dinarap nila. And then, okay, so we got Big E promo and then lumabas dito syempre the Usos, they assaulted Big E. And after nun nag-promo, ang problema lang, sinabi ko na nga ito kanina na ito yung malaking problema for this year's Survivor Series. Na, okay, sabi ko, okay, may pay-per-view pala kami ng Sunday. Let's build the pay-per-view. Yay! And they did it. Again. And they did it again. And I'm so fucking disappointed with how they treated this year's Survivor Series. Okay. And apparently, on this year's Survivor Series, maraming sapaw-sapaw na nangyayari. So that's why hindi ko rin talaga gusto yung ideya na every year may brand supremacy na pwede naman sana na lang ilagay na lang yung mga big feuds and then maglagay na lang ng some 5 on 5 kahit isa man ng 5 on 5 or dalawa and then the rest is bigger feuds na lang na mas malaki kumpara dun sa WWE brand supremacy. And nowadays brand supremacy is not the thing. The thing here is company supremacy. Kailangan natin bumawi, kailangan natin magbawi kasi there's a competition and competing between the brands doesn't help it at all. Kaya, ayan, that fucking idea is kinda suck. Okay. And then, we got, ano pa ba? Ano pa ba kailangan natin pag-usapan dito? And then we get a 5-way. Hindi, 5-way ba? Tama. 5-way. Ayan, so, wait. 5-way ba? Hindi eh. I think we get a 2 women's match. And I can say, ano pa ba? Ang isa pang problema na na-encounter ko on this year's Survivor Series is mas priority talaga ng WWE mag long-term booking. Yung parang mas binubook nila yung future storylines ngayon, lalo't malapit na ang Survivor Series rather than their upcoming pay-per-view which is Survivor Series nga na mangyayari na Sunday, Monday, Manila time. And that's the problem na mas priority nila yung future rather than the present feuds. And I fucking hate it. Call me an idiot. But the way I see it, parang hindi nila pina-priority yung pay-per-view. It makes me disappointed. Tangina, ito pa naman yung pay-per-view na magiging main attraction ay si The Rock. Tapos ganito. Tangina nyo, basura nyo. Jesus. And then we got a match between Kevin Owens and Finn Balor. And in my opinion, sobrang ganda ng call nito. Sobrang ganda nitong match na to. Although, we can say na hindi, ito sabihin ko agad kayo hindi binabury si Finn. Sadyang binibidla na si Kevin Owens. Yun lang talaga masasabi ko. And I fucking love this match. Sobrang hot nitong match na to. And ito, I swear, if they want to get the fans back, di ba, tandaan nyo si AEW nag-advertise agad sila ng matches. They need to advertise those matches like this. Sobrang ganda ng ideya pag ganito yung pinaggagawa nila. But at this point, well, di nyo masisisi for that. And it's kind of suck. Okay. And then, ano pa ba? The main event of this week's Raw is kinda raw to me. So it's Lashley versus Rey Mysterio. And the Adam Pearce Mysterio feud is continuous. Kasi parang ini-screw niya all over again yung mga Mysterios una kay Dominic. And then kay Rey ngayon. And then dropping Rey and Dominic to the equation, it makes sense to me. However, it's kinda dick. Kasi may sinabi si Pierce noong nakaraan na kailangan niya former world champions. And Austin Theory is not a champion though. Kaya bigla talaga ako napaisip. To be honest, bigla ako napaisip at bigla rin ako nainis kay Pierce. And nainis din talaga ako sa booking nila in general. And it's kind of disappointing. Okay. And then, we're going to do NXT. Guys, personal opinion on NXT 2.0 so far. I love NXT 2.0. Sobrang edgy na kasi ng mga storylines. Lalo't may mga lumalabas ngayon, lalo na sa Wrestle Boats, na they are planning to convert the rating from PG TV14, the PG TV14, and on the way I see it, it's kinda good decision. But the same time, ito yung parang nagiging testing grounds na din nila for main roster shows na gawin na rin PG or TV14 rather. Parang kumbaga they're going to use NXT as their testing grounds, and it's kind of effective to me. And then NXT 2.0, ayan, first thing foremost, ano ba kailangan natin mention dito? Ano ba ang big deal? So, so personal opinion, I love the poker showdown between Grimes and Duke Cousin. Kaya lang, there's a problem. There's a problem na hindi siya nag-work. Na parang yung mga walang alam sa poker, di nila malalaman kung ano tong mga katarantaduan na to. So it's kinda embarrassing. If sa AEW siguro to ginawa, maintindihan ko kasi iba yung rating. Kaya lang, PG tong NXT. Keep that in mind. NXT is a PG show. And different audiences yung nandito sa NXT. Kaya it's kind of disappointing. And then, okay, we get basically the build for War Games. So number one, yung binibuild nila is a old NXT generation versus a new generation of NXT. Possible yun. Kasi parang iniinsulto ni Tommaso Ciampa yung mga bago. Ayan. And then nagmura-mura na si Ciampa dito. Una, minention niya si Braun Breaker. Hindi. Braun Breaker ba? Si Tony D'Angelo, minention niya dito sa promo. And in my point of view, that promo is so fucking good. No? And yung pag-mention niya sa mga bago like Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, Waller, kay Tony D'Angelo. In my opinion, ganito yung tutungo Dito tutungo yun Parang originals versus new breed in a War Games match. And I fucking love it. Sobrang G ako doon na new versus old comers ng NXT. And I'm good at it. Kumanas, sobrang ganda nun. Panigurado ako. And then the main event of this week's NXT, there's the second thing. So, binibuild na official na. Apparently, na official na for War Games. Yung isa pang War Games match between Team Dakota and Team Toxic Attraction versus Dakota Kai, Io Shirai, and Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, Io Shirai, and Cora Jade and TBA. So, yan. Yun lang. The match, by the way, is good. At the same time, yung pagbibid nila sa War Games is kinda, skeptic at the same time. It's pretty okay for me. Okay lang. So, yeah, yun lang. Yun lang for our ito lang yun sa akin for our weekly NXT Raw and SmackDown recap. And it's time to predict this year's Survivor Series before we go to the commercial break once again. Kasi may commercial na naman tayo. Kasi next, after ng commercial break na to, gagawa tayo ng ano pa ba? We're going to do ATD ulit. Siguro follow-up na lang yon. And some runs na din for Survivor Series. Agahang con-drop nito. Probably by Saturday or Sunday, drop ko tong episode na to. Hindi ko to i-drop Okay. So, this year's Survivor Series is kinda big match. It's kinda big card for me. First thing. So, we got a tag team battle royale. So it's Street Profits. I think kaka-announce lang to. Kaka-announce lang to. So kumbaga kumbaga parang kaka-announce lang. I think sa programming na to in-announce. I'm not sure kung ano program. And then Street Profits versus Kalpa Academy versus Hitro versus Styles and Amos versus DX, Rude and Ziggler. I think ito yung magiging panggulo sa match cards na. Sige, magpipredict tayo. So kung ang pag-uusapan natin is na maging contender for the title or for a title, it should be it's either they're going to build Hitro or Alpha Academy. But if we're going to look at the logic here, I think it's either Street Profits o kaya Hitro. But I can say Hitro. Safe choice, Hitro. And then next, Team Raw, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Bobby Lashley, and Austin Theory versus Team SmackDown, Drew McIntyre, King Woods, Jeff Hardy, Happy Corbin, and TBA. Regardless on who the hell is TBA, I think TBA yung mananalo dito. Siguro feeling ko may mga miscommunications na pwedeng mangyari sa Team Raw. And I think yun ang magiging pasihan para matalo sila. And yun, I think SmackDown is the top team to beat on the men's. The women's side, same. I think Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Carmella, and Queen Zelina versus Sasha, Shayna, Shotzi, Natalia, and TBA. Yung pag-drop nila kay Aliyah, it's kind of tambak. But, well, dahil siguro to sa story ni Naomi, don't blame them. I think I can say Roto kasi andun si Queen Zelina. I think binabawi nila si Zelina. And then, plus andun pa si Liv, andun pa si Bianca na binibuild din nila. And then plus may miscue na possible mangyari sa SmackDown side between Shayna and kabit kay Shayna siguro ba kay skew na yung si Shayna or yung fifth member ng Team SmackDown is nasa side ni Naomi. So, it's kind of skeptic para piliin ko yung SmackDown team for this year's women's side. And then number 4, RK Bro versus the Usos. Champions versus champions tag match. Pick the Usos. The Usos kasi sila yung may mas mabigat na momentum. And if ito magli-lead na sa split off ng RK Bro, hindi na siya masama para doon mag-umpisa yung possible na seeds for the split up. And then Big E versus Roman Reigns, World Title versus World Title match. Of course, champion versus champion. I think safe choice, I can say Roman. Kasi like what I said earlier in the Usos match, mas malakas yung momentum ni Roman if ikukumpara natin kay Big E, obviously. Pero it's either way na sobrang kain match to panigurado. And it's kinda good match. And then the sleeper match of the night, it's Damian Priest versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I want Nakamura to win, but the way we see it, I think Damian Priest will win the match. And then finally, the main event of this week's SmackDown, this week's Survivor Series. One of the possible main events for this year's Survivor Series is Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. Tyra versus Tyra. Champion versus champion. I can say, when it comes to logic here, I can say Charlotte will win over Becky. But, ang nakikita ko baka manalo si Becky. By DQ. by DQ to protect both of their characters or to protect their own egos. But either way, that this gonna be a good match for me. So yan, basically that's it for my Survivor Series predictions. And if you have your own prediction for this year's Survivor Series, let me know in the comment section on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and on TikTok. And we can discuss your predictions for the Survivor Series. Meron din tayong Discord server. We can discuss that on the server. Ayan, before we take a break nga pala, para dire-diretso na tayo. So, in less than few weeks time, we're going to have 12/12 Shopee sale from Shopee. And you can use my link to support the podcast for your shopping purposes. It's podlink.co/bhx. Again, that's podlink.co/bhx. Also, syempre, if you have a VPN and wala ka pang VPN, if you want to access some programs and movies sa Disney Plus, lalo't hindi pa available ang Disney Plus sa atin. Kung gusto nyo manood ng movies na hindi available sa atin dahil naka-geo-lock yung content, pwede nyo pong magamit yung NordVPN na ito. NordVPN is for you and may offer ako, and you can check the offer on podlink.co/bwn. And again, that's podlink.co/bwn, and you can get 2 years with free 1 month for $79. I don't know it's available pa din, but still a Black Friday deal for only $79. So you can check the link on the description, podlink.co/bwn. Also, let me add Podmetrics. Podmetrics is the easiest way to monetize the podcast. And if you want to monetize your own show, you can use my affiliate code. Visit podmetrics.co and use my code, the MTG Show Pod, to start your own earnings with Podmetrics. And now, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, ETD plus picks of the week. And yeah, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, yeah, we're going to do that. And now, let's check our other podcast here on Pipe Network.
Mainit na diskusyonan,
Masarap na kwentuhan,
malinamnam na usapan,
at nakakagising na balitaktakan.
parang kape lang. My name is Jeff.
And I'm Weya Angeline.
Join us in our conversations at Coffee na Lang Dear Podcast.
Here we go again. Minsan ko nang na-discuss sa broadcast o sa program na to, sa ATD the podcast. Ewan ko if nakikinig kayo sa akin doon sa aking second podcast. Pero sobrang tagal ko nang dinidiscuss tong kay Becky and kay Charlotte. So it's kinda skeptic to me. And it's kinda disappointing pang pag-usapan. But we need to do a longer commentary on this just to prove my point. Bakit? Bakit ego? Parang ego na lang eh. But meanwhile, sige. Let's address this motherfucking story once and for all. Alam nyo, the mga nakaraang araw, there's a lot of shots back and forth between Becky and Charlotte Flair. Una, tumira si si Charlotte during a promo sa SmackDown. And nag-respond si Becky sa Raw. And then nagtumira rin siya kay Charlotte nung na-interview si Charlotte for BT Sport. And mag-expect pa ako ng isa pa for SmackDown kay Charlotte. Regardless on what we are seeing right now, the question na dapat umiikot sa inyong mga utak is ganito. Is Charlotte and Becky blurring our minds? Kasi, of course, we're going to think na this feud is kinda work and yung pagdadrag kay si Ric Flair lumabas na nga sa eksena. And do you think we are worth? Naisip niyo pa ba na ma-work lang tayo dito? Putya na yan. But here's the thing. If we can say that we are worth on this feud, then you got me. Becky got me. Charlotte got me. But, well, all of you guys got me on that point. Wala naman ako masyadong kailangan tirahin sa side na to. But, okay. That's basically my part 1 of the follow-up. Okay. Doon na tayo sa isa pang storya that we need to talk and it's very, very important. I don't know if tatagal pa ng 10 to 15 minutes tong portion na to. Pansin nyo, maraming changes on this year's Survivor Series. Yay! Ang tatangan nyo. Wow! Kulang pa yung seconds na yun para palakpakan ko kayo. WWE, alam nyo, pinapangan nyo ako in several ways. Kasi, and the way we see it, ginagago nyo na lang ata yung booking for this year's Survivor Series. Kasi ang ginagawa nyo is throwing somebody here, throwing somebody there, throwing somebody here, throwing somebody there. And that's it. In my opinion, that's a trash booking. In my opinion, no build-ups at all. There's a build-up, but basura yung build-up. And I fucking hate it. I fucking hate the idea that they're doing this rather than the traditional pay-per-view build-ups na 4 or 5 weeks build up to the pay-per-view. But no. We're getting a lot of disasters while we are building up this fucking pay-per-view. You know what's the problem here is? There's a lot of pay-per-views and fillers. Okay. It's time to explain kasi Sunday na tong pay-per-view. Kasi mawawala ng saysay if habang ko masyado tas wala naman sa punto na. Okay. Kasi alam niyo lumalabas dito. Walang pakialam ang WWE sa pay-per-view na to. Kasi they are just throwing somebody here, there, doon, dito. Just to build this year's Survivor Series out of nowhere. And my personal opinion, I'm not fan of that. Kasi yan ang proof na WWE is doing a lazy booking. Lalo na't big for ito. Do you think that porket Big Four to, hindi nyo na bibigyan ng priority. And porket may nangyaring Saudi, hindi nyo na bibigyan ng booking to. Like, what the fuck? Are you embarrassing yourselves for that booking? Oo, titirahin na naman ako. Kasi, ayan, puro ka lang naman sa preview. Puro ka preview. Di mo panoorin yung pay-per-view. Yan na naman tayo eh. Kung pangit yung build-up, pangit din ang match. Sobrang pointless nun. Kung pangit ang match, maganda yung build-up. It's fine as long as they did a better build-up. But in this case, we might get two scenarios. Number one, pangit ang build-up, maganda ang match. Number two, pangit ang build-up, pangit pa ang match. Diba, sagwa? Last thing. I want to suggest something. Alam ko, narinig niyo na to kay Big E, ay kay Woods. But I love his suggestion na dapat yung mga teams for the men's Survivor Series ay may catch. So sabi ni Big E, ay sabi ni Woods, si Woods, na yung winners for this year's Survivor Series dapat maglaban-laban 5-way with the winner or the eliminations of that match, order of eliminations, yun na magiging basehan nila for their entries for the upcoming Royal Rumble. And then sa losing side, ito yung magiging 26-30, same scenario, kung sino yung una, pangalawa, pangatlo, pangapat, panglima. Of course, they're going to fight in a 5-way elimination match to work it out. Personal opinion, before we end this ATD mixed episode, hindi ako fan nito. Kasi kinikil nyo pinapatay nyo yung excitement sa Royal Rumble. To conclude this episode, there's three important questions na dapat isipin nyo before you watch this year's Survivor Series. Number one, are we going to expect a better show than the counterpart that happened last week? Number two, if we're going to get the logic that I said earlier, the bad build-up, great match, or bad match, bad build-up. Or number three, is Charlotte and Becky working us up? Yun ang kaduda-duda. But we need to find out on next week's episode of the podcast. But for then, that's my preview for this year's Survivor Series, and that's my attention to detail. Okay, to end this podcast episode, gusto ko na lang mag-picks of the week. We're going to do picks of the week, hindi na yung top questions. Top questions siguro next week na tayo mag-top, no? Okay, so acting picks of the week, the superstar of the week obviously is Sangman Page. Sobrang deserving nun. The woman of the week, I think I can say, is Liv Morgan. The match of the week is the 6-man tag Falls Count Anywhere from Full Gear between Christian Cage and Christian Cage and Jurassic Express versus the Super Click, Young Bucks and Adam Cole. Ayan, so basically yun lang ang aking picks of the week. Let me know your picks on our social media platforms. Available naman lahat. And on our Discord chat. And on Facebook. And that's pretty much it. Yet again, I'm going to shameless plug the upcoming Survivor Series Filipino commentary on On Monday, Manila time, it's Stancy and Carla Pamintuan of One Sports TV5. If you want to watch that thing with the Filipino commentary on it, you can watch by WWE Network for $9.99. Of course, $9.99. I think meron din siya sa Peacock. Pero di ako sure kasi hindi ko ma-open yung Peacock ko. And then, if you want to watch it in a cheaper way, pwede niyo siya mapanood sa watch party ng The Wrestling Podcast na available for $250 sa mga Patreon users ng the podcast na yan. So, yan, if you want to watch it on the network, well, you're safe kasi mas maganda yung feed ng network kumpara sa mga third parties. So, that's pretty much it for this week's episode. Follow the podcast on all of the social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok at the MTG Show Podcast or MTG Show Pod. And then you can support the podcast by listening to the podcast every Fridays on your favorite podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Deezer, and on the podcast app, which is available on your Google Play Store. And then you can support Pipe Network by visiting pipenetwork.co for more Pipe Network shows. You can visit Pipe Network Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok for more Pipe Network content, of course, social media. And yun. And then, ito nga pala, my social media platforms at AG Penera on Twitter and Instagram. So, that's pretty much it. Ayun, by the way nga pala, before we end, yung ating The Bash Awards, marami tayong ilalabas na details of that awards. Siguro by the weekend. Sabi ko the weekend, probably the weekend. Ngayong weekend na to, we're going to release some of the details. And then by the future, after Survivor Series, siguro magkakaalaman tayo sa final list of entries. And then doon na lang natin i-tackle sa episode kung ano yung dapat nyo i-look forward for the next few weeks habang ginagawa natin tong ATD and then yung match, yung mga entries natin for the Bash Awards. Yan, Bash Awards episode. So, also, marami din kayo dapat abangan sa akin. Syempre, number 1 is the, yung 8 questions sa Pipe Network. Of course, you can listen to that podcast via Pipe Network and of course on your favorite podcast platforms. And marami kayong dapat abangan sa akin, lalo that marami akong pasabog next week. Ewan ko next week o next week, basta abangan nyo na lang, marami kayong dapat abangan. So yeah, that's it for this week's episode of the podcast. Wow, ilang kembot na lang pala tayo ay nasa episode number 100 na. At least, nasa goal na tayo, nasa right track na tayo, nasa right history na tayo for this podcast. And probably by WrestleMania, tayo ay nasa episode number 100 na. And that's a good stuff. Remember, stay safe, stay wrestle. See you on the next podcast. Don't forget, wash your hands. Syempre, please vote next year. Syempre, mask up. And again, let's vote next year. Alamin na kasi na dapat i-boto nyo. And yun, see you in the next episode of the podcast. This is a Pipe Network podcast. We're out.